Go ahead, Heather.
Okay, I want to say that um, it was a victory well worth pursuing. It may have taken a long time, and at times it felt that nothing was happening. It took a long time to go through the courts in Barbados. I don't think that it should have taken that long, but it did. But fundamentally, what it does is that it repositions the people in an authoritative position, because here they were, I guess many people were thinking that the investor and government and whoever would have their way and um would be in, I guess would win this over the people, right? But it did not happen. So we have a lot to be thankful for God who helped us to persevere to win this fight. And they say that it is not for the swift, but for those who endure to the end. And this was a case of that happened. And I really wish to commend um what's his name again? You have him up on the screen.
Victor Lewis.
Victor Lewis, right? He did not give up. He was determined. He did not give up, and I must commend him for that. And I'm glad that the people of St. Joseph and everywhere else in Barbados would continue to have the opportunity to enjoy the labor of our forefathers. Let's look at it that way, and not let someone from over in a way who nibble strings are not buried in Barbados take away our birthright. So with issues like that, we have to fight to the bitter end, regardless of the outcome. Um, I had some other things to mention. Um, I want to be very brief, but there were two articles in the newspaper, and in my opinion, they were related. We seem to look at things separately, but they were related. One was with regards to one of the ministers from the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Strawn, and then the other minister who was the former Minister of Education. So one article was about him, and the other one was her delivery at an event. And in his delivery, what was captured in the newspaper, it said he was in Parliament and he was talking about taxation. And he said that government had pulled in more taxation that more taxation than they had expected, right?
Right. Surpass their revenue target. Dave,
Right, the surplus.
yeah, I sent you, Dave, something via WhatsApp that would help Heather. Go ahead, Heather.
And what it tells me is that if government has a surplus, which is well beyond what they had anticipated, and they were anticipating a surplus in the first place, and they went well beyond this, the government of Barbados can reduce the VAT. That is what I got from that. But then the minister went on to claim that their spending also went up, which technically does not make any sense. If you are a fiscal manager managing taxation, revenue, and expenditure, how could your expenditure go up if you have a surplus? It doesn't make any sense to me. So what he has proven to me is that the government of Barbados can reduce the VAT, the 70% VAT. And I had specifically highlighted something here which said that government spent 333.7 million on services, and we don't know what those services were for. What the minister does, what they do is they put out information, they put out partial information. They never give you the full picture. They never do. And for example, the taxes on the value added tax, they pulled in $811 million in value-added tax, and it had overperformed by $19.82 million. And therefore, they can reduce that to lower the amount of costs that the consumers are now bearing. So it can be lowered. It's not that they can't do it. They probably do not wish to do it. And some other thing, what else did it say? All right, was that, so it should be lowered. And if we look at the Minister Kay McConney, what she delivered, she was speaking to some private sector firm at the Barbados Hilton. And what it seemed to me, when I look at the two articles together, it looks as though Mr. Strong was, he usually delivers a lot of bad news in terms of taxation. So it is probably the intent now to have her share part of it. So he's saying, yeah, we bring in so much money, but we spend a lot, but it could have been different. And she came and she said, no, she's talking about, they have a debt for nature swap. They have coined something new called a debt for social swap, meaning that they are restructuring debt, getting somebody else to take over debt that they have, and with a lower interest rate. And with that interest rate, they said that they are going to put the reduction in the interest rate into things like education and healthcare and heritage, and they said heritage services or something like that. My thing on this is that this is just an idea that the government is throwing out, right? Because the article said that Barbados is developing. It didn't say that this is something that it has a foundation or has a structure or anything like that is grounded. It is not grounded in some existing form or whatever. It says Barbados is developing. And she is extending an invitation to the private sector to buy into this, because she also went on to say that the private sector need to engage directly by investing in social impact products financed through these swaps or by supporting community-based enterprises. So this is nothing that is grounded in economics. And also what I can say is that government comes up with all of these, I don't even know what to call it. They coin new words, because as far as I've heard, I've never heard of a debt for social services swap. I've never heard about it. I've heard of debt for nature swap, but not this. So the aim of that, her speaking, was to invite the private sector to come and take up some of government's debt. Basically, that was it. And to highlight my concerns here again is that these debt for nature swaps, usually the effects of what they do can be relatively small, because there is only the interest rate really that would be the net gains of the restructuring. So it doesn't do anything much. But she never said what debt is being restructured, which I find quite strange, which is the debt that they want to restructure rather, which I find quite strange. And we don't have a guarantee that any savings from the debt restructuring could be used in education, healthcare, or heritage. And what I have found is that areas like debt for climate swap, that these things are so nefarious, you can't pinpoint where the money goes. So nobody can tell you, or there is no defined structure where we can say, yes, X amount of money went to do this, or went to do the next, or went to do the third. There is nothing in place for for anybody to track what is happening. So I find that we have to watch carefully what these ministers are saying and try to make some sense of it. It is as though they are determined to take us down a path where we are left holding the bag. So what Mr. Strong made me think of is, where is all of this money going? If you collect well in advance over what you anticipated, you collected a surplus, a high surplus, and you cannot, people in Barbados can't see where it's going. And if you collect so much, you should be able to reduce the VAT. But nothing like that is happening. So that is my concern for the night, the VAT. We have money and nobody know where it's going. You don't know where the spending going. So the government can't say that they're not getting any money from taxation. They're getting it, they're spending it, and they're still continuing to borrow. It makes absolutely no sense. This is not to be tolerated. If not, you cannot trust the democratic process anywhere in the Caribbean. There might as well be no voting if we are going to allow ourselves to accept this. We can't do it. So something definitely needs to be done. Miss Motley thinks that she's too big for her boots, that she can impose her will not only on Barbados but throughout the entire Caribbean. But she's wrong. So there is nowhere that anybody in their right mind should sit down and think that this is acceptable, because it is not. No way. Yes. But I am going to look to see if I can find that information that the audio that you had on the what you presume was from a radio station. I'm going to look and see if I can find it.
Yes.
I have someone in St. Vincent that I can ask.
Yes.
I will.